John the Baptist was in the wilderness until the day of his showing forth. Jesus, the Son of God, who had left the glory, spent 30 years in training to minister. John the Baptist, 30 years in training. The Apostle Paul, at least 30 years. Moses, at least 40 years. And we want to go to Bible school 6 months and come out like a super prophet. It's the time factor that kills most of us. Tell me how much time you spend alone with God, and I will tell you how spiritual you are. Not how many meetings you go to, not how many gifts you have, not how many sermons you preach, not how many records you've made. Tell me what time you spend alone with God, and I'll tell you how spiritual you are.
Praying to God is a problem for many today. Some go through the motions with no idea why. Others exchange prayer for quiet thought or transcendental meditation. Most, perhaps, have given up prayer entirely. But what is the problem? The answer is clear. People feel a problem about prayer because they are unsure about who God is. If you are uncertain whether God exists, whether He is personal or good, or in control of things, or concerned about ordinary people like you and me, you are bound to conclude that prayer is pointless, trivial, and you won't do it. But if you believe, as Christians do, that Jesus is the image of God, in other words, that Jesus is God in character, then you will have no such doubts. And you will recognize that for us to speak to the Father and the Son in prayer is as natural as it was for Jesus to talk to His Father in heaven, or for the disciples to talk to their Master during the days of His earthly ministry. Does God then really tell us things when we pray? Yes. We shall probably not hear voices, nor feel sudden strong impressions of a message coming through. But as we verbalize our problem before God's throne, and tell Him what we want and why we want it, and think our way through passages and principles of God's written word, bearing on the matter in hand, we shall find many certainties in our hearts as to God's view of us and our prayers, and His will for us and others. It is not too much to say that God made us to pray, that prayer is the most natural activity in which we ever engage. Perhaps Jesus' disciples felt this when they made their request, "Lord, teach us to pray." Jesus must have rejoiced to be asked this. However, He controlled His feelings and gave a matter-of-fact answer. "When you pray, say." Did Jesus intend that they should repeat the words in paired fashion? No. This prayer is a pattern for all Christian praying. Jesus is teaching that prayer will be acceptable when the attitudes, thoughts, and desires expressed fit the pattern. This is to say, every prayer of ours should be a praying of the Lord's Prayer in some shape or form. So the Lord's Prayer should be put to service to direct and spur on our prayer constantly. To pray in terms of it is to be sure to keep our prayers within God's will.